Welcome back to Women of Worth, the podcast where we dig into the challenges and joys of life and relationships. Today, we're talking about something every couple faces: relationship hurdles. Whether it's communication breakdowns, unrealistic expectations, or simply feeling disconnected, every partnership has its ups and downs. But here's the good news: with a little understanding and effort, these common issues don't have to stand in the way of a strong, happy relationship. In this episode, we'll cover some of the most common relationship challenges, with real-life examples and practical solutions to help you and your partner navigate them together. From couples like Anna and Mark, who struggled with expectations, to Ruby and her partner learning to resolve anger issues, these stories are here to remind you that no relationship is perfect, but they can all grow stronger. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And we'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts and any personal experiences in the comments below. Your insights and stories can inspire others, so let's keep the conversation going. Now, let's dive in and explore the challenges we all face in relationships and the ways we can overcome them together.
Okay, let's be real for a sec. When it comes to relationships, that whole happily ever after thing, not always a walk in the park.
You're telling me.
Relationships can be amazing, but they definitely need some TLC. Every couple out there, even those seemingly perfect ones on Instagram, faces their own set of challenges.
It's true.
So today we're taking a deep dive into 10 of those common relationship problems and, more importantly, how to solve them. Consider this your relationship survival kit.
I like it. A survival kit for love.
The best part, we've got real-life couples and their stories to make this advice feel, relatable and something you can actually use.
Because let's face it, sometimes those relationship advice books can feel a little too, textbook.
Exactly. So challenge number 1. Unrealistic expectation. We've got Anna and Mark. Anna's constantly bummed because Mark isn't exactly the romantic she pictured.
Oh, I've seen this one play out so many times.
But plot twist, she's never actually told him what she wants.
Classic. This is the unspoken expectations trap. We think our partners should just instinctively know what we need, but honestly, that's just setting everyone up for disappointment. The foundation of a healthy relationship. Clear, open communication. No mind games, just straight up expressing your needs and expectations.
Makes sense. So then we bump into challenge number 2. Poor communication. This time, it's Sarah and her partner. They're practically speaking different languages, constantly misunderstanding each other.
This one's a biggie. It shows how communication's a two-way street. It's not just about talking, it's about truly listening to understand your partner's point of view. And we all have our own baggage, right? Our past experiences and assumptions that can totally distort what we hear.
The source material really emphasizes this idea of active listening. Repeating what you hear to make sure you got it right, asking questions to clear things up, and really trying to grasp what your partner is saying before jumping in with your own 2 cents. Seems pretty crucial, especially when things get a bit heated.
Absolutely. It's like you're saying, hey, I hear you. I'm trying to get where you're coming from. And that creates a space for, actually resolving things instead of just arguing.
For sure. Okay, challenge number 3. Lack of support for each other's goals. Meet Jake, the aspiring entrepreneur. And Linda, his partner, who's, a little freaked out about the risks involved with his big dreams.
This is where fear can disguise itself as a lack of support. It's not that Linda doesn't want Jake to succeed. It's more likely that she's scared of what might happen if things don't go as planned.
Okay, so how do couples navigate this one?
By facing those fears head on, building a solid plan, figuring out realistic timelines, finding ways to make those risks a little less scary. All of this helps both partners feel more secure and supported. It's about finding that sweet spot between chasing those individual dreams and nurturing the relationship.
Right, because both are important. Now let's talk about a challenge that can really make or break a couple. Financial strain. We've got Emma, the saver, and John, the spender. Classic clash of financial styles.
Oh yeah, this one's a classic for a reason. And, it's rarely just about the money itself. Money often represents deeper values, anxieties, even power dynamics within a relationship.
And the source material really stresses financial transparency and making those money decisions together, creating a budget together, setting spending limits you both agree on. I'm guessing tackling this early on can save a lot of headaches down the road.
Absolutely. It's not about one person winning the money debate. It's about finding a system that works for both of you and builds that sense of shared responsibility and trust. And trust is huge in any healthy relationship.
For sure. All right, moving on to a topic that can be tough to talk about: infidelity or betrayal. Rudy's story is a rough one. She discovered her partner was having an emotional affair, and that just shattered the trust they had.
This is one of the most painful things a relationship can go through. Betrayal cuts deep. And it's totally normal to feel all those messy emotions. Anger, sadness, confusion, the whole works.
It sounds like rebuilding trust after something like that is a long road, and there's no quick fix.
Exactly. It takes serious commitment from both people. Total honesty, complete transparency going forward, and often getting some help from a therapist can make a huge difference.
So even after something that devastating, there's still a path forward. But it definitely takes work.
It really does, but it shows how strong some relationships can be. Even facing something so difficult, some couples choose to face it head on and fight for what they have.
That's powerful. Now on to a challenge a lot of couples, especially those juggling busy lives, can relate to. Not enough quality time together. We've got Josie and her husband. They're working, raising kids, and starting to feel more like roommates than, well, a romantic couple.
It's so easy to let that connection slip when life gets in the way, but here's the thing. Relationships need nurturing, just like anything else we care about. We can't just expect them to thrive on autopilot.
So what are some practical ways to make time for each other?
Date nights are a classic for a reason. They force you to actually block out time for each other. Even something as simple as putting those phones away during dinner or just having 15 minutes of focused conversation each day can really make a difference. It's about being present, even in those smaller moments.
It's about being intentional, even amidst the chaos.
Exactly. Those small, consistent gestures can really make a difference.
All right, challenge number 7, boredom. Carrie's feeling that her relationship has become, well, a little too routine, too predictable.
This is a common one, especially when you've been together for a while. That initial excitement can fade. But the good news is passion and excitement usually just need a little nudge, a little creativity.
So how can couples bring back that spark?
By trying new things together, exploring a new hobby, traveling someplace new, even just trying a new restaurant in your town. Break free from the routine and create those shared experiences that bring back that feeling of excitement and connection.
I love that. Okay, on to something that can be a bit awkward to talk about: declining sexual intimacy. Annie's noticing that things have become predictable in the bedroom and, well, maybe a little less frequent.
This is a completely normal experience, especially as life changes, stress levels go up and down, and our bodies change over time. But ignoring it just creates distance. It's so important to talk about it before it becomes a bigger problem.
And the source material really emphasizes open and honest communication about what each person desires and any concerns they have. That feeling of safety to talk about these things is so important, right?
It is. It's the foundation for a healthy, intimate life. And sometimes even small changes can make a big difference. Romantic gestures, a weekend getaway, exploring new ways to connect physically. All these things can rekindle that spark.
It's about taking action and prioritizing intimacy in the relationship. Okay, challenge number 9, the anger habit. Ruby and her partner are constantly bickering, often over things that seem pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
This one's interesting because anger is often a symptom of deeper issues that haven't been addressed. It could be unresolved resentment, unmet needs, or even stress from other areas of life spilling over into the relationship.
And the source material talks about developing healthy conflict resolution skills.
Exactly. Learning to communicate calmly, respectfully, taking a break when things get heated, and focusing on finding solutions instead of playing the blame game.
It's about moving away from that knee-jerk reaction to fight and being more proactive about working together.
Yes. It's about seeing disagreements not as something you have to win, but as opportunities to understand each other better and actually make the relationship stronger.
And finally, challenge number 10, failing to consult each other on important decisions. We've got Alex, who accepted a new job without talking to her partner, Sam, leaving Sam feeling totally blindsided and hurt.
This speaks to that fundamental need to feel valued and included in decisions that affect both partners, even if it seems like a personal decision on the surface.
It's about taking your partner's perspective into account, even on things like career moves or big purchases.
Absolutely. And it's about building that sense of we're in this together, making it a habit to talk about those big life changes together, even if you don't necessarily need their permission, just shows that respect and strengthens that connection.
It's about recognizing that our choices, even the ones that seem individual, can have a ripple effect on the relationship.
Exactly. And by including your partner, you're not only avoiding hurt feelings, you're building teamwork and mutual support. And those are essential for navigating all the ups and downs that life throws your way.
Wow, we've covered a lot. We've unpacked 10 common relationship challenges and got some really insightful advice on how to handle them.
It's a great reminder that relationships are always evolving. They take effort, but building a strong and loving partnership is totally worth it.
Absolutely. But for now, think about these challenges. Which ones resonate most with you?
And maybe jot down any thoughts or questions you have about how these dynamics show up in your own relationship.
It's amazing how many of these relationship hurdles we've all encountered, personally or seeing friends go through it.
It really is. And what I appreciate about the source material is that it doesn't sugarcoat things. It acknowledges that relationships can be messy, complicated, but it also offers hope and practical advice to navigate all that complexity. It's like a roadmap, but for love.
I love that analogy. It's about understanding that those bumps in the road, totally normal. It's how we handle them that determines how strong our bond becomes.
So true. Before we jump back into our list, I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier, self-awareness.
Oh yes, super important. Before we can even begin to tackle relationship challenges, we need to understand ourselves, our own needs, our triggers, how we communicate.
It's about taking responsibility for our part in the whole dynamic, right? Absolutely. It's easy to point fingers and blame our partners, but remember, it takes two to tango. The more we understand ourselves, the better we can communicate, set healthy boundaries, and contribute to a more balanced and ultimately more fulfilling partnership.
So how can our listeners start building that self-awareness? Any practical tips?
There are so many great resources out there. Therapy can be a game changer for understanding our patterns. Journaling is another powerful tool for self-reflection. Even taking a few minutes each day to check in with yourself, like how am I feeling, what do I need right now, can make a huge difference.
It's about making that inner work a priority, investing in ourselves so we can show up as our best selves in our relationship.
Exactly. When we commit to personal growth, it naturally spills over into our relationships. It's like a ripple effect.
Love that. Okay, back to our list. We left off talking about consulting each other on big decisions.
Right, and that ties in perfectly with our next point, which is all about nurturing that sense of teamwork, of shared responsibility within the relationship.
Let's dive into that. What insights does the source material offer on building that partnership vibe?
It emphasizes creating a dynamic where both partners feel equally valued, equally empowered. This means actively involving each other in decision-making, even for things that might seem more individual, like career choices or financial planning.
So even those seemingly personal decisions can impact the relationship as a whole.
Exactly. And by consciously including each other, we're saying, hey, we're in this together.
Okay, so how do we put that shared responsibility into practice? What can couples start doing differently?
Communication, as always, is key. Regularly checking in with each other about your goals, dreams, any worries you have creates that space for open dialogue and problem solving as a team.
Creating a culture of transparency and mutual support, basically.
Yes. And remember, shared responsibility doesn't mean doing everything equally. It's about finding a balance that works for both individuals, where everyone feels respected, valued, and empowered to contribute their unique strengths.
I love that. Now, as we unpack these relationship challenges, I think it's important to acknowledge that not all relationships are created equal. Some are just healthier than others.
That's a great point. It raises an important question. How do we tell the difference between a healthy relationship and one that might be, well, a bit toxic or dysfunctional?
I'm so glad you brought that up. Because while we're focusing on common challenges, it's important to remember that some relationship patterns are just not healthy.
Exactly. The source material touches on this too. It highlights the importance of recognizing those red flags that might signal deeper issues.
So what are some of those red flags our listeners should watch out for?
A big one is disrespect or emotional abuse. This can show up in a lot of ways, like name-calling, put-downs, trying to control or manipulate, even gaslighting, which is basically trying to make someone doubt their own sanity.
That's just not okay. It should never be tolerated in a healthy relationship.
Absolutely. If you're experiencing any form of emotional abuse, reach out for help. Talk to someone you trust, a friend, family member, or a therapist. Remember, you deserve to be treated with respect.
Another red flag is constantly avoiding communication or refusing to address conflict.
Right. Healthy couples can talk openly and honestly about their feelings, even when things are tough. They're willing to listen to each other's perspective, even if they don't agree, and work together to find solutions. It's about feeling safe to express yourself without judgment.
So if you feel like you're walking on eggshells, avoiding certain topics, or constantly being dismissed, that's a sign that something's not right.
It's a good reminder that healthy relationships are built on respect, trust, and open communication. If those things are missing, it's time to step back and honestly ask yourself if this relationship is truly serving you.
Okay, so we've covered some red flags. Now let's switch gears and talk about the signs of a healthy and happy relationship. The green flags, so to speak.
I love that. It's important to focus on the positive too, right? To recognize and celebrate what's working well.
Absolutely. So according to the source material, what makes a healthy relationship?
Mutual respect is foundational. This means valuing each other's opinions even when you disagree, treating each other with kindness even during arguments. It's about truly seeing and hearing your partner.
Respect creates that sense of safety and trust.
Yeah, exactly. It allows both people to be themselves without feeling like they need to change or compromise their values. It's about acceptance.
And of course, effective communication is a must, which we've talked about a lot already.
Right. And it's more than just talking. It's about active listening, empathy, truly understanding your partner's point of view, even if you don't agree.
It's about creating a space where you both feel safe to be yourselves without judgment.
Exactly. And being able to work through disagreements constructively. Finding solutions that work for both of you. It's turning conflict into an opportunity to grow closer.
Okay, so respect and communication, check. What else is essential for a happy relationship?
Shared values and goals are super important. This doesn't mean you have to agree on everything, but it's good to have a general alignment on core values. Things like family, religion, lifestyle choices.
Feeling like you're moving in the same direction. Working toward a common goal.
Exactly. And it also means supporting each other's individual dreams, even if they're not exactly the same as yours.
It's about balancing individual growth with that shared purpose. Love it.
Right. And when you have that alignment, it creates a bond that can withstand anything life throws your way.
So we've got respect, communication, shared values and goals. What else is part of that secret sauce?
Intimacy and affection. This includes physical intimacy, of course, but it's also about emotional closeness, vulnerability, feeling deeply connected.
It's about feeling loved, cherished, desired.
Yes, and making that effort to nurture that intimacy, both physically and emotionally. Date nights, small gestures of affection, quality time together.
Prioritizing that connection, making it a central part of your relationship.
Absolutely. Remember, intimacy naturally fluctuates over time, but by making a conscious effort to stay connected, physically and emotionally, we can keep that spark alive.
Wow, we've covered so much ground. Red flags, green flags, the importance of self-awareness, shared responsibility.
It's been a great reminder that relationships take work, but the payoff of a loving and supportive partnership is huge. Totally worth it.
Couldn't agree more. We'll be back soon to wrap up this episode with some final thoughts and takeaways our listeners can put into practice. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to our final part of this deep dive into relationship challenges. Phew, what a journey. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty pumped after all this.
Me too. It's a good reminder that, yeah, relationships can be complicated, but they're also so worth it. And I think the biggest takeaway is that if we understand these common challenges and have the right tools, we can actually build stronger, healthier, happier relationships.
Absolutely. Before we wrap things up, I'd love to circle back to those 10 common relationship problems we talked about and those real-life couples who, showed us what's what.
I like that, bringing it all together, seeing how those individual stories actually reveal these bigger patterns and solutions.
Exactly. So let's start with Anna and Mark, our couple struggling with those unmet expectations. What was the big lesson there?
Oh, communication, communication, communication. Remember, our partners aren't mind readers. We have to actually tell them what we need and expect instead of just hoping they'll figure it out on their own.
And when we do that, it opens the door to a relationship that's more satisfying for both people.
Exactly. It's about creating a dynamic where everyone feels safe to be themselves and ask for what they need.
Okay, now let's rewind to Sarah and a partner. Remember, they were caught in that cycle of poor communication and, constantly misinterpreting each other.
Yeah. Their story was all about active listening and perspective taking, making that conscious effort to truly hear what our partner's saying instead of filtering it through our own baggage.
And the source material had some really practical advice on how to do that. Repeating back what you hear, asking questions to make sure you understand, really getting their message before you jump in with your response.
Those are game changers. And remember, good communication isn't just about avoiding arguments. It's about creating a safe space for both people to honestly express themselves.
Let's move on to Jake and Linda. They were dealing with challenges around supporting each other's goals, right?
Yep. And their story reminds us that sometimes what looks like a lack of support is actually fear in disguise. It's about recognizing those fears, talking about them openly, and finding ways to manage risks so both partners feel good about moving forward.
It's finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Where you can chase your dreams, but also prioritize the relationship.
Exactly. And sometimes that means compromise, but it should always feel like a team effort where both people feel heard and respected.
Okay, now for Emma and John, like a lot of couples, they were struggling with money problems.
Yes, the classic financial strain. And their story shows just how important it is to be transparent about finances and make those money decisions together. Creating a budget together, setting spending limits, actually talking about money openly and honestly.
Because money can be such a touchy subject, right?
It can be, but avoiding those conversations only leads to resentment and bigger problems down the road.
So true. It's about understanding that money is a shared responsibility in a relationship and figuring out a system that works for both of you and creates that sense of financial security. Okay, now back to Rudy. Her story was a tough one. She had to deal with infidelity and betrayal.
It was, and it reminds us that while betrayal is incredibly painful, it doesn't always mean the relationship is over. Rebuilding trust is possible, but it takes a ton of commitment from both people, total transparency, and honestly, professional help can be a game changer.
It's a long process, for sure. But sometimes that love, that connection, is worth fighting for.
It really can be. And it's important to remember that healing takes time. There's no quick fix. Be patient with yourselves. Be compassionate as you work through it together.
Let's move on to Josie and her husband. They were feeling disconnected, more like roommates than a couple because they weren't spending quality time together.
Their story shows just how important it is to make time for each other, even when life gets busy. Date nights are great, but even little things like putting your phones away during dinner or having a 15-minute chat each day can make a difference. It's about being present, being intentional about connecting.
Even those small gestures add up, right?
They really do. Okay, now for Carrie, remember, she was worried about boredom creeping into her relationship.
That feeling that things have become too routine.
Exactly. Her story is a reminder that relationships need that spark, that excitement. Trying new things together, shaking up the routine. Those shared experiences can bring back the fun and remind you why you fell in love in the first place.
It's about remembering that a relationship is a journey, not just a destination.
Love that. Okay, now on to Annie. She is dealing with a decline in sexual intimacy.
A tough topic for a lot of couples.
It can be. But Annie's story reminds us how important it is to talk openly about our needs, desires, and any concerns we have. It's about creating that safe space to explore intimacy and find ways to reconnect both physically and emotionally.
Because intimacy is such an important part of a healthy relationship, right?
It is. And remember, it's natural for things to ebb and flow over time. Be patient with each other, communicate openly, and you can find new ways to connect as your relationship evolves.
Let's move on to Ruby and her partner. They were stuck in that cycle of anger and conflict.
Their story highlights the importance of developing those healthy conflict resolution skills. Learning to communicate calmly, taking breaks when things get heated, focusing on solutions instead of blame.
Moving away from that fight or flight response and being more proactive about working together.
Yes, disagreements are going to happen, but it's how you handle them that really matters. And finally, let's circle back to Alex and Sam. Remember, Alex accepted a new job without talking to Sam, and Sam was really hurt.
Feeling left out of a big decision.
Right. And their story emphasizes the importance of teamwork and shared responsibility. Even for decisions that seem personal, it's important to involve your partner and make them feel valued and included.
Because our choices, even the individual ones, can impact the relationship.
Absolutely. And when you involve your partner, you're not just avoiding hurt feelings, you're strengthening that sense of we're in this together, which ultimately makes your bond stronger.
Wow. What an amazing conversation this has been. We've explored those 10 common relationship challenges, learned from real couples, and hopefully given our listeners some tools to build stronger, happier relationships.
It's all about effort, open communication, and growing together. And the payoff is huge. A loving, supportive relationship is one of the most rewarding things in life.
Couldn't agree more. As we wrap up, we'd love to hear from you. What resonated with you the most? Share your experiences, your tips in the comments below. You never know, your story could inspire someone else.
Remember, every relationship is different, but these challenges and solutions can give you a starting point. Keep exploring, keep learning, keep growing together. The journey of love is an amazing adventure.
And if this episode resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this with someone who might need to hear this message. Let's create a community of support where we can all empower each other to heal and grow and thrive. That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, keep those conversations flowing and those connections strong.